coming back to economy, how important is deficit financing for U.S. economic growth, and how important is military spending for justifying the deficit spending?
Yeah, the U.S. budget deficit, if any other country had it, would be first order alarm bells, because the U.S. budget deficit is 7% of GDP, one of the highest deficits in the world relative to the size of the economy. Now, the U.S. is a rich country. It's about $30 trillion in market prices. That's a lot. But the deficit of 7% means more than a $2 trillion deficit. That's a lot of borrowing also. So not only has the U.S. been borrowing a lot, it has been borrowing a lot for so long that the debt is now more than 100% of the gross domestic product. And when our experts extrapolate, well, what will it be 30 years from now? They, on current policy, they come to the conclusion it would be 166% of GDP. In other words, we are unsustainable. If we were Armenia, we'd be a basket case in the hands of the IMF. So this is the situation. This will come home to roost. It's already coming home to roost in that U.S. interest rates are rising because it's harder and harder for the U.S. to borrow. One of the reasons it's harder and harder for the U.S. to borrow is the rest of the world trusts the U.S. a lot less than it used to. One of the reasons it trusts the world trusts the U.S. a lot less than it used to is the U.S. keeps stealing other countries' money. It said to Afghanistan, well, your foreign exchange reserves, we're going to keep them because we don't like the Taliban. It says to Iran, well, you're a terrorist. We're going to keep your foreign exchange reserves. North Korea, we're going to keep your foreign exchange reserves. Venezuela, we don't even respect your president. We're going to keep your foreign exchange reserves. And of course, the big prize was $300 billion of Russian foreign exchange reserves. One of the main aims of the BRICS countries is we don't want to keep our money in U.S. dollars anymore. They keep taking it. And by the way, I keep saying to my friends who are senior Treasury officials and so on, you know, if you want others to use the U.S. dollar, which makes it easy for us to borrow, stop taking their money. How are you going to get them to lend you money if you keep taking it? They don't listen to me, either about wars or about taking other countries' foreign exchange currency. So my view is that this deficit is a big deal. Now, here's another problem. Who elected Trump? Billionaires. Who was opposing Trump with Harris? Billionaires. When you look at our politics, we, the people, we're like a spectator sport. Who are the billionaires? Well, it's that list on this side, it's that list on this side. We sit back. Who's going to win? I don't know, but it's going to be the billionaires. So what do the billionaires backing Trump want? Tax cuts. What did the billionaires backing Harris want? Tax cuts. What is the election going to produce? Tax cuts. Big surprise. Is it a drama? Of course it's not a drama. Our Congress is corrupt. Our political system is corrupt. It's run by the big boys. It's not run by the little people. So we're going to have more tax cuts. So here comes Trump, elected by a disgruntled voting population, the working class. This is his core. And he's telling the working class, you've been cheated. I'm going to support you. And what's he going to do? He's going to give tax cuts to the richest people in the world. You know, 10 people now, 10 people have a net worth of $2 trillion. I'm sorry, we can't even imagine what this means. The days after Trump was elected, their net worth increased $100 billion in days, because people who have money know, oh, this is a bonanza for the billionaires. By the way, if Harris had won, it probably would have gone up the same way because it's billionaires on both sides. So this deficit is going to rise. It's not going to fall. Now, Trump has a very particular, clever electoral strategy. He says to the voters, the billionaires are your friend. That's not the problem. Your enemy enemy is the immigrant and your enemy is China. And I'm going to go after your enemies, not your friends, the billionaires. So what Trump says is, I'm going to raise tariffs on the Chinese, I'm going to kick out the immigrants, and you're going to live the American dream. And it's not going to happen. And so, sure enough, within the next years, the Trump administration will be a failure of widening income inequalities, big unhappiness, larger budget deficits, frictions with China, a lot of lawsuits in the United States of people trying to stay within the U.S. that are threatened with deportation. It's not going to be a happy period. And this, unfortunately, comes from the fact that when you have two parties, billionaires backing this one and billionaires backing this one, someone gets left out, and that's the people.